Hello and welcome to my show Indus Cuisine, and I'm your chef Basim Akhund. We're back with a new episode from the heart of Pakistan. Today's recipe is very interesting, and this recipe is basically a household favorite in the country of Pakistan, but it is usually, you could say, enjoyed in the city of Karachi and Lahore. Why? Because this recipe is a little technical when it comes to the villages. We're basically making a recipe which is known as Keema Bhari Shimla. Now you might be saying that what is this tongue twister the chef is talking about? Keema basically means beef mince. Keema is an Urdu word. Then bhara means basically to stuff something, and Shimla is basically capsicum. This recipe is very interesting, and this recipe will be made in two parts. First, we have to make the beef mince, which will be a stuffing in itself, and then we shall finish the recipe by stuffing everything into the capsicums, and then I'll let you know how will you cook the capsicums. There are two ways easily. The first way could be, which is the modern way, I will just let you know verbally, is by just putting the stuffed capsicum in the oven, and the other one is how it's done traditionally, which I shall show you. You need around half a kilogram of beef mince. You need around a little bit of red chili powder, cumin powder, turmeric powder, garam masala, coriander powder. You need some ginger garlic. You will be needing some salt to taste, some green chilies, and obviously 2 onions and a few tomatoes. For that, first you need a frying pan, which is at the back, and I shall bring it over here and keep it on heat. Once it comes to heat, we shall add a little bit of oil, but before that we need some things over here. So increase the heat and take around 2 onions. So what I'll do is I'll take 2 medium onions. These are more than enough, and we shall keep the root on. Why? Because we need the onions basically to be finely chopped. When you have the root on, you can slowly and gradually just cut the onions like this. You can think of it like making some flowers. Bring it close, and now finely slice it eventually. It's super easy, not that difficult. I will not make a cut in between. Why? Because the onion is not that high, which I mean is when it's a medium onion, you don't have to slice it like this from the center. Why? Because eventually the pieces will be finely chopped, because the height is not that much. Just keep it close, and remember, we have to make the onions translucent for this recipe. When the onions will be translucent, you will get the perfect flavor, and that is how we can go a long way with this recipe with beef mince and the onions in harmony with each other while they are cooked. So what I'll do now is I shall just take around 2 tablespoons of oil. This recipe for the mince, basically you won't be adding too much of oil, just 2 tablespoons, that's about it. Keep the remaining on the side, which we shall need later. What I'll do now is I shall just move the oil and coat the pan properly, and now transfer all of these onions into the pan over here. The onions go in, and we shall just sprinkle some salt on top. When you sprinkle the salt, what will happen is that the onions will start sweating. When the onions start sweating, they will get nicely translucent, and if you want to make them brown, you can do that later on also. So I shall just take a pinch of salt, take it, and now we shall give it a lid. The lid is over here basically. I'll keep it over here and let it basically cook on low heat for another 4 to 5 minutes. But the heat needs to be super low, so I'm bringing the heat really down and let it cook now. On the other hand, what do you need? You need some ginger and you need some garlic. But for that, what I'll do is I don't need the whole piece. I shall just take a little bit over here, keep the remaining over here, slice it super thin, and this is done. So what I'll do now is I shall just pile up all of the pieces closely, bring it close. I will just make a cut in the center. This is done, and now we shall just finely chop it. If you want to do it individually, you can do that also, but I prefer doing it like this. And because if you have a proper command over the knife you're using, you won't hurt yourself. The ginger goes on the side. I shall just push it over here. Just clean the counter if you see any pieces of the onions anywhere. Why? Because a clean station will take you a long way. We shall take around 5 pieces of garlic. We shall keep it over here, and I shall just smash them like this. Slowly and gradually smash them properly, and this is done. Bring it close and just chop it. This is done. And now I shall just clean the blade, bring it close, and take the lid off. The lid goes off. As you can see, the onions are nicely translucent. I shall transfer the garlic first. The garlic goes in, and then the ginger shall be transferred. I'll just leave a little bit of ginger for later on, not too much. Mix it up. And now just spread everything out. Once this is done, what I shall do is I shall just give it a lid and let it cook so that it gets nicely translucent. Now we shall pick up 3 tomatoes, medium sized, not that small. Take the eye of the tomato out, place it over here. And now we shall finally chop them. So I shall just half it, cut it from here and go super close. You have to really finely chop them, and then after that we shall convert these into a nice paste. Why shall I convert it into a paste? It's because I want everything to be held very closely. So just finely chop these. Push them on the side. And remember, whenever you're chopping anything, maintain the basically size of every piece. Why? Because you do not want it to basically change its shape and the texture. Because if a piece is thick and the other one is small, what will happen is that the texture of the recipe will get damaged. Push it over here. And this is done. Okay, now what I'll do is I shall transfer all of this in the blender. I'll pick this over here, bring it over here and slide everything into it. This goes in. Everything is inside. We should put it on the machine, place a lid on top and just start whizzing it up. Once this is done, I should just take the lid off and transfer everything over here. This goes in. We will not finally process the onions, remember that. Transfer this over here. Keep this at the back. Do not throw it over here. Why? Because it will get damaged, because there are higher chances of things being damaged if they are breakable in the sink. Add around a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Mix it up. Bring it close. And just place a lid on top and let it cook for 5 minutes or until the time this is completely reduced. So now I shall just cook this and we shall go for a break. And once we're back, I'll let you know what to do next. Don't go anywhere. Keep watching Indus Cuisine. Welcome back, you're watching Indus Cuisine and I'm your chef Basim Akhund. During the break I just reduced the heat and as you can see the tomato has basically gone dry. Now this is the perfect time. It's not completely dry but the 80% of the water content from the pan has evaporated. Now what I'll do is I shall basically add a few spices. The first thing that will go in it is some cumin. Then I shall add some red chili. Basically this is the dried red chili which you find in Pakistan. I shall just place 4 of these pieces as it is. Remember that. I shall keep all the remaining ramekins on the side. I shall add some masala into it. Then I shall add some turmeric powder. Then we shall add red chili powder. This is done. Now this is basically being ready for the beef mince. But before that, what I need to do is I need to mix this up slowly and gradually so that it starts cooking in the sauce nicely. So just transfer it into this after mixing it. So when I say transfer, we shall transfer all the meat, the beef mince over here, and cook it properly. Now this is done. Now what I'll do is I'll let this cook just for a few, you could say, minutes, so that the spices are properly infused. On the other hand, what I need is I need around 3 green chilies. I shall pick up a knife and I shall finely chop them. So if the green chili is big, I shall just cut it from the center and then go super close, as close as you can. Remember that. Always push your knife forward so that no piece is sticking together. Now the other ones which are not that thick can be just finely chopped like this. Slowly and gradually, always have eye contact. If you're too good, you can take away your eye contact, but it takes a lot of years and practice. Slowly and gradually, just keep going in a motion. And now everything shall be added to the paste over here again. We do not need the stem, so I shall just pick it up and throw it here. Now why have I chopped the green chili so fine? The reason behind chopping the green chili fine is that when it will be cooked, when it's finely chopped, it will start shrinking, and when I shall fill the, you could say, capsicum, it will be properly filled and it will sit and settle inside it nicely. Okay, this is done. Now what I'll do is I shall just mix it up, but with just, you could say, a 1/4 cup of water. Just take the cling wrap off, transfer the water. This is done. Increase the heat to full and then start mixing it. This is done. Okay, now what I'll do is I shall just add the beef mince. Now remember one thing, that the beef mince also has fat. Why? Because whenever you get mince, it always has around a minimum of 10% fat, which is the white part in the meat. So I shall just transfer all of this over here. This is done. Pick this up and keep it at the back and rinse your hands once. Now what I'll do is I shall just start pressing it down and start mixing the paste in this. Slowly and gradually will take you a long way. Remember this for this recipe in particular. Now what I'll do is I shall just add another cup of water. Keep this on the side. Why? Because the water will help the beef mince to fall apart. It's sticking together, which I do not want for now only. Okay, slowly and gradually start mixing it. And as you can see, the water is helping the beef in breaking out. Now, as you can see, I shall just mix it properly. And this is done. Okay, now what I'll do is I shall just add a little bit of ginger, which I told you I will later on. I shall just pick up a piece, cut it like this, keep it over here, cut it from between, and one more cut. Keep it close with each other and go super fine. As you can see, it's paper fine, paper thin. It goes in this and we mix it up again. So we pick up the ladle and just mix it around. Bring everything close. You want all the masalas to mix nicely, remember that. And it is done. Now remember, you need to control the evaporation. So I'll keep this on the side. Whatever I don't need goes here. And in the end, I shall just pick up some salt, around half a teaspoon, add it over here, give it a lid and let it cook for 10 minutes on low heat. So till then this is cooking, what we shall do is we shall get ready with the capsicum over here. For that, what I'll do is I shall just clean up my board once and then tell you what to do next. As you can see, I gave the beef mince around 3 minutes and now the water has increased. Now you might be thinking, where did the water come from? Always remember, meat has moisture. When you will cook it, it will first release its water, its moisture, and then it will start drying. Now as you can see, let me show you one thing, that the mince over here is not sticking to each other. This means that it is now ready to cook on high heat. What I'll do now is I shall just partially keep the lid on top like this so that the splatter doesn't come out, and increase the heat to medium. Okay, now we shall cook it for 4 to 5 minutes so that the water is completely dry. Till that time, what I'll do is I shall just pick up some capsicums and keep them over here, and we will be using around 5 to 6 for today's recipe. Now you need to be very careful and you need to listen very carefully. Pick up a small knife and keep it over here, and then the big one. I shall just cut it from the top straight like this, and now you will not throw this part on the side. I will just keep it like this in front of you, and I shall repeat all of this so that you can remember what I'm doing. Keep it like this, keep the base over here and the head over here. Slowly and gradually keep going like this, and then I will tell you how to deal with this. It is a very easy recipe. It's not that difficult, not that complicated. Just if you do it properly, you will do justice to it, I believe. Okay, now this is done. What I'll do now is I shall also press this part and take the stem out. So now you can see there's a hole in between. This is what we need. So just push it like this, and then keep it over here. Even if the lid breaks into two, it's fine, but you need to remove this part. Now why? Because the steam will start flowing from here. Okay, now this is done. We'll pick up a paring knife. You can see that there are walls inside. I shall just place it over here and slowly and gradually cut these adjoining walls. These walls basically hold the seeds. I just twisted it and voila, I have the seeds out. This is done. Now you can see this is a cup. We shall use this. Again, I shall do it for you over here. Just cut along the walls of the seed, turn it around, twist it and take it out. Now remember, you need to throw the seeds out, because if you keep the seeds in, the food will taste pungent. The capsicum has a very, you could say, different way of cooking. Whenever you cook the seeds in it, it goes bad, and it also dominates all the other flavors and everything starts smelling. So whatever I'm doing is I'm just taking the seeds out and I am just discarding them so that I do not by mistake even place them in my food. Be very careful, twist it around like this and slowly pick it up and throw it in the bin. And the last piece is over here. It's not that difficult, it is super easy. And now we are ready to cook. Okay, this is done. Now just pick the lid up, see what's happening properly, increase the heat to full and let it cook. It needs to dry down. Until this dries down, what I'll do is I shall just pick up some ginger in front of you and I shall just make super thin slices. The first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and then the fifth one. This is done. Now why have I made these slices? These slices will be added in the capsicum. I'll keep it over here. Then we need a little bit of coriander, which I shall just pick it up, keep it over here, twist it around like this, pick up my knife and just chop it. Slowly and gradually will take you a long way. Remember that. Do not hurry into this. This is done. Keep it on the side. And now we shall just wait for the mince to dry up. As you can see, the mince is completely dry. Now what I'll do is I shall start transferring it. So first we'll pick up a capsicum, pick up the mince and toss it over here. Now when you're done halfway, remember that, halfway, you will just pick up a piece of ginger, place it in the center and then place more mince on the top. Now what will happen is that the flavor will start seeping in and it will get even more delicious. Slowly and gradually will take you a very, very long way. Place it over here and then just keep repeating all of the process. As you can see, everything is done. The capsicum is completely filled. Now what I'll do is I shall just sprinkle some coriander on top like this, and then start placing the top lid over here. Now as you can see, it is very easy, not that difficult. You will just follow these steps closely. Now how will you basically use this, cook this, eat this? Now first what we'll do is we shall transfer almost half a cup of oil over here. We will bring the oil to heat, which it has almost because the pan was hot. I'm using the same pan. Why? Because I want the beef flavor to be added into the oil, and which will transfer to the capsicums. I will place the capsicums in the oil like this. Keep them close to each other. And we shall bring them on one side. Now you'll see what I'll be doing. It's very easy, not that difficult. So the base is basically being cooked, and on the other hand, we shall just pick up a spoon and start basting them with oil. Now what will happen is when the hot oil will go on top, it will give a nice fragrance and the capsicum will get a very nice outer shell. So we will keep doing this for some time, which is a little labor intensive, but this is how this recipe is cooked. So slowly and gradually, as you can see, I am pouring oil, which I shall keep doing for, let's say, around 5 minutes. So keep pouring, and when it starts changing its color just a little bit, then we shall stop. I shall show you the final look of the recipe just in a bit. As you can see, today's recipe is ready. It was super easy, but it had a few steps you needed to follow. This recipe is basically eaten like this if you do not want to have the capsicum. If you want to have the capsicum, you will place these capsicums in the oven for 10 minutes and then you will have it. There are few people in Pakistan who like having the capsicum. There are few people who just like the fragrance or the flavor of the capsicum when you add it over here. Now you can see the mince is inside. Each capsicum serves one person, and the remaining meat will be served in the front. It can also be consumed with naan bread or with some nice basmati rice. I hope you liked today's episode. I'll see you in another episode of Indus Cuisine. Take care of yourself, lovely people. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.